Everybody turn to somebody and give them a high five, all right? And say, you did it. Say you did it. Now, you may be thinking, what did I do, all right? How many of you are like, what did I do? Here's what you did. What you did is we are at the last sermon of the series, The Story of God. That's the last sermon of the story. We've been going at this for a semester now. If you remember, we started way back at the beginning. We were looking at Genesis. We talked about Adam and Eve. We talked about Abraham and Joseph. And we talked about Moses and David and Saul and all the, like, we have covered a lot of ground, huh? Yeah, you've been there? Here's what we're doing today. We've been going from David and Saul. Lord, is that you? I'm just all right, we have been covering a lot of ground, all right? We've been going, the idea has been to go from Genesis to Jesus. In the last few weeks, we've been on Jesus. And this morning, my goal with this sermon is to kind of draw your attention to something. And then I want to talk about what happens after that something. And then I want to come back and kind of follow up with hopefully something kind of encouraging for you, all right? So that's kind of where we're going to go today. So here's where I want to start. I want to draw your attention to something. As we've been doing the story of God, we've been looking at this whole story, and what we've seen is over and over again, God has come to people, God has invited people into this, like back into relationship with him, and over again, the people reject him, right? They accept him for a little bit, and then they ultimately reject him. And all along, I've been hinting at there's this really pivotal moment that's coming. And I would say, as we've looked at this story, the most monumental moment in all of history was the moment when God chose to die to rescue us from the story, right? The most monumental moment in history was when God chose to die to rescue us out of the story. Now, I need to for a second, I want to point out a few things about this statement, all right? Everybody good with this statement? Everybody's like, yeah, I got it, Ken. Here's what I want to point out about it. I told you a couple years ago I went to Israel, and when I went with some Jewish rabbis, and I had the privilege of sitting with one of them on this tour bus a lot. And I asked him a lot of questions, but one of the questions I specifically asked him was, what is it about Jesus that you can't accept as your Messiah? And do you know what his answer was? His answer was, well, Kent, God doesn't die.